How are you? It's 12:04 and a good afternoon, may I be the first to say. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Matt Murphy. We've got a little time to spend together this afternoon on this Monday, July 3rd, 2023. Allow me, if you will, to get the pleasantries out of the way. We'll get on to the content of the show, the meat and potatoes, the veritable cornucopia that is the topic selections of this radio broadcast on this Monday, our episode 371. We've got telephone numbers. We've got super text numbers. We've got ways for you to communicate with the broadcast. Wherever you may be watching or listening, we certainly appreciate that. We've got the various applications online and whatnot up and running with the internet stream. Of course, 99.7 FM and an absolute blowtorch power of a radio signal. And then there's Talk TV, powered by the F&M Bank chat line. You can happen to, if you happen to stop by Talk TV, you can see my ugly mug. You can see the whiteboard behind me. You can also join in the conversation that way as well. That's on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. Again, my name is Matt Murphy, here till 3 o'clock this afternoon. No Brian Wilson this week. Pamela Furr in for Brian on the drive. Jay Harper's back in the newsroom gathering headlines, doing yeoman's work on this holiday week. And then there's Bell K. We call him Headless Bell because he does not participate. He declines to participate to show off his beautiful face on Talk TV. But he does, from time to time, participate on the radio broadcast. Hey, Bell.
Hey.
How are you?
So you're on vacation starting tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
Is it fair to tell the audience that they're going to get 4 additional days' worth of content in this one show?
Is that fair?
Yes.
I mean, you can tell them that.
Okay. Well, we're going to tell them that. It's a week's worth of show entertainment in 3 hours.
I don't know. You got a mouse in your pocket? Because you just said we're going to tell them that, and I don't know that I'm going to tell them that.
You're going to tell them that.
Okay, I'll tell them that. You've convinced me. You've twisted my arm. 5 days.
Your words.
1 week of show right here packed into a day of show. I have almost made it an annual tradition. And I want to talk with you about it during the lunchtime. And yeah, I mean, you can yell at me. You can come at me. You can accuse me of bias. You can accuse me of anything you want. But my grandpa used to have a saying about opinions and how they're like elbows. Everybody's got one or two. Mostly two, but My opinion is simple. And understand, I know that we've got a lot of news of the day to get into. Believe it or not, there are some things going on. There's a lot of travel happening. We have a few other things to tell you about. There's an update on the Anheuser-Busch Dylan Mulvaney saga, which is just comical at this point. It is comical that Dylan Mulvaney has now suggested that Anheuser-Busch should have accepted a 30% across-the-board decrease in sales in order to celebrate and promote the LGBTQ community. Actually said that businesses should acquiesce to their better interest, and they should give the middle finger to their stockholders. Anheuser-Busch, which is not an American-owned company. They don't know, whatever, but Anheuser-Busch should give the middle finger to their stockholders, their shareholders, and their customers. Because it's really, really important to Dylan Mulvaney that you know that Dylan Mulvaney likes beer. I have an update. It's comical. I mean, it's a sideshow. It's a comedy show at this point. But we will discuss it. We will continue to talk, I should say, about the aftermath of the Supreme Court rulings. As I said Friday, I was filling in for Brian Wilson at Bold Patriot Brewing on Friday, and as I mentioned, the political left, they do not like to lose, and they really don't know how to lose. And so when they do, there's a little bit of a freak out that is also a comedy show if you look at it in the right way. And so your usual suspects, the Joy Behards and the Joy Reids and the Whoopi Goldbergs, the View and the MSNBC crowd, and then others like Jameel Hill, who at one time was a sports reporter, but now she's some sort of social media activist, explaining to us that Asian Americans are a lesser than race. That's what they're saying. That Asian Americans don't matter as much as African Americans. As a matter of fact, when it comes to decision points about the two, apparently nobody matters as much. This wasn't or isn't at this point about getting equality for all in America, all American citizens that deserve it. It is, in fact, about revenge and vengeance and retribution. It is about comeuppance for some in the African-American community with regard to the affirmative action. Joy Reid over the weekend said that she wouldn't have gotten into Harvard were it not for affirmative action. Well, it's nice that they're saying the quiet part out loud, I suppose. And we'll get into that, I promise you. But first, I want to deal with something, if you're watching on Talk TV, that's on the whiteboard, if you can see it behind me. Opinions are like elbows. That said, fireworks suck. Always have, always will. They do. Once you have seen fireworks, I will grant you this. I understand the appeal to see one professionally done fireworks display. One. And after you have seen one professionally done fireworks display, you have seen all the fireworks. We have, in modern history, world history, not American history, more on that in a second, we have done all we can do with exploding crap in the sky. We have gone to the limits. We have pushed the envelope of exploding crap in the sky to the point that we can get exploding smiley faces. And look, there's an explosion that looks like Uranus right there in the sky. Don't look at me that way. They do it. It's got the rings and everything. So I'm not coming at you uneducated on this subject when I tell you that fireworks suck. It is the entire premise of this conversation. Fireworks in your neighborhood suck. And if you come at me with, hey, my kids like it, you need to figure out a way that your kids can like you that don't involve exploding things in the sky. I used to say this to parents who put stickers on the backs of their cars naming their children and the sports that they like. And I'm reminded them that you're handing information to pedophiles when you say that, Olivia really likes softball and she's an honor roll student at so-and-so elementary school. You're giving some hard clues as to how this pedophile can go after your kid. Well, but I love my kid and I want to tell my kid. If your kid needs a bumper sticker on the back of your car for your kid to know that you love your kid, then you got a bigger problem. But back to fireworks and how they suck.
So you're really going to tell the 13-year-old Matt Murphy that still lives in the back of your head that taking a firecracker and jamming it in between an army man's legs and setting that off sucks?
Never did anything for me.
Man.
Never did anything for me. I mean, those types of kids that did something for them, I mean, I feel like they move on to,
arson,
strapping it to the cat and stuff like that. I mean, we can't have that.
No, that's a little army man's an inanimate object. I'm not talking about hurting things.
And look, Alan says, watching things explode in the sky is like having an orgasm. Alan,
no, it's not.
may I suggest to you that you might be doing yours wrong, if that is true. All right, 615-737-9986. I am willing to be proven wrong. I'm willing to be convinced that I'm wrong on this, but I have long believed, one, fireworks are in no way an American invention. So the association that we have with fireworks and America's independence is loose at best. Let us not pretend that this was a necessary function of celebrating our independence as a United States of America. It's certainly not. I'm not hating on you guys in all seriousness. I love you, each and every one of you. I just don't get it. I don't. Oh, there's a blue one. Oh, look, that one looks white. Oh, that one's red, white, and blue.
Oh, look, that one took out the news helicopter.
Now that would be entertainment for me. And then by the time you get to the finale, ooh, joy of joys, the finale, there's so much damn smoke around that you can't see them to begin with. $43.17. By the way, you can call or super text us 615-737-9986. As the whiteboard says, prove me wrong. I'm ready to listen. I'll give you 30 seconds of time, each of you, a minute of time if you need it, to explain to me why I am so wrong on the issue of fireworks. Now, first and foremost, here are the cons. Okay, what are the pros? I've done the analysis. What are the pros to fireworks? If you sit down with a sheet and you put pro on one side and con on the other side, what are the pros? Things explode and they are brightly colored. What are the other pros? All right, moving on to the cons. This list is a little bit longer. The crowds. We all gather together in a tightly packed space. Invariably, these activities happen during the hot months. I understand that there are other times in which fireworks are deployed, such as New Year's Eve, but for the most part, you're dealing with Memorial Day, the 4th of July, a.k.a. Independence Day, and Labor Day. Oh, don't make any mistake, you people over there on the Super Talk. We're doing this. We're having this conversation. And so you gather together and you don't have any place to park and there's a million other people and we're all getting there early because we all want the quote-unquote best seats, despite the fact that there aren't best seats, because the fireworks are always going to be way over there because goodness forbid anyone gets near the fireworks in order to see them because of, safety. And so we wait and we wait. I contend to you, much like I make the argument that were there no betting in horse racing, there would be no horse racing. I contend to you, if alcohol did not exist, there would be no fireworks, either professionally done or home-based fireworks. Now, on the professional side of things, we gather together for hours in advance. We bring our lawn chairs and we try to protect our space, but invariably you're never able to protect your space, and people horn in on your space, and they're sweaty, and they're grumpy, and there are kids involved, and that's another side issue. I'm not going to go there now, but control your children in places like this. And then we all wait in anxious anticipation for what? 15 minutes of crap exploding in the sky, looking exactly like it did last year. Now, I'm as an American as can be. I am Yankee Doodle Dandy. I believe in this country. I love this country. But if fireworks ceased to exist tomorrow, it would not hurt my feelings. Now, I've just been discussing professionally done fireworks. People that do them at home are worse. Now, I understand that there are two things that are affecting my opinion on fireworks. I am well aware of my bias in this subject. A, I do not have any children. But I would maintain to you that if you're an adult, anything that really, 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 really appeals to a 9-year-old and it still appeals to you in the same fashion, maybe your priorities are out of whack. I don't know. Secondarily, my secondary bias, my big bias, is the fact that I own dogs. And there seems to be a major schism between dog owners, r.e. fireworks in the neighborhood, and fireworks lovers who either don't own dogs or knock their dogs out or whatever. Now, I've got 3. And they are on different levels of the spectrum. The little one, Mrs. Beasley, could give a rip. By the way, they've been going off for the last 4 days in Mount Juliet. I don't know when it became fashionable to start popping off fireworks on a Friday before a Tuesday, 4th of July, but whatever. I mean, once again, it's a free country. I'm not begrudging you your fireworks necessarily. Although, did I hear this right, Belle K? You would know this. Is it not my wife told me this, that it's illegal to pop off fireworks in Davidson County? Is that true?
I'm almost positive that's true, and it's also one of those laws that I just completely ignore.
You fire off fireworks? Sure. Get out.
Yeah, bottle rockets, firecrackers.
Bottle rockets?
Yeah, it's fun stuff, man.
Roman candles?
No, I've never. There's not enough bang with the Roman candle.
Let me tell you my Roman candle story. I've long been kind of anti-firework.
Can we say it on the air?
Oh yeah, you can say it.
This one's clean.
I've long been kind of, and I just think it's a waste of money on a personal level. I mean, have you seen the cost of fireworks? They are ridiculously priced.
Well, they've always been one of those items that's, since it's seasonal, they always seem to be like they could get away with charging a little bit more. But lately, I look at them like I'm not spending that kind of money.
And by the way, I don't know if this is a statewide thing or what. And we had fireworks in Alabama, and I was there for 20 years. It was always illegal in Georgia when I was growing up, and I don't know why. Somebody got their hand blown off or something. But the amount of tents, I mean, it feels like there are far more firework tents in Middle Tennessee than there could possibly be sales of fireworks. I mean, I'm talking about in Mount Juliet alone, I think we've counted like 9 or 10 firework tents like every 100 yards. I'm assuming these are all firework tents and they're not like pop-up peep shows or something.
Well, a lot of that's being bought and shipped to Ukraine.
Oh yeah, they need the armaments. But I do have dogs. Mrs. Beasley could give a rip. Munson, he likes to let me know that something's going on outside, and that's about the extent of it. And then John Henry, we have to drug him because he just goes absolutely bonkers, and he won't stop, and he moves around, and it gets worse as he's getting older. But anyway, I'm ready to listen. I'm ready to hear what you have to say about fireworks. 615-737-9986. There's other news of the day to go on. We also want to talk about American heroes today, as it is the day before our Independence Day. Obviously, the Declaration of Independence is noted for its July 4th signatures. Most of the signatures occurred on the Declaration of Independence a little bit later on, as a matter of fact. I think it was August. But John Hancock put his, dare I say, John Hancock on that document on July 4th.
Isn't he lucky that he had that name so that it would fit the... Yeah, it's like, how crazy is that?
Isn't that nice? The old saying... one of my favorite lines, where is this from? Geez, John, you're taking up the whole page. I don't know, where's that line from? It's like they're signing the Declaration.
There's something like that in Family Guy.
They're signing the Declaration of Independence, and John Hancock gets his quill out, and you hear somebody go, geez, John, you're taking up the whole page.
It's brilliant.
Now, John Hancock said he wanted to sign it so that the king could read it without his spectacles. Good for him, because a lot of these guys had death sentences put on their heads.
They're going to hang you first.
Yeah, no doubt. But I don't believe that fireworks is in any way necessarily associated with America's independence. But it is Independence Day, and we'll talk about American heroes today. It's 12:23 on Super Talk. Here's the bottom line, folks. What you don't know about your property can, in fact, hurt you. You do not want to be sold something that you don't need, but at the same time, you need to know that the foundation in your home and the waterproofing in your home is working as it should. Otherwise, that water or those foundation issues could be chipping away at that big-time investment. Let's talk about it. USS is the best. Since the 1990s, 1994, as a matter of fact, they've been providing peace of mind to customers all throughout Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, and Northern Alabama. When USS comes out to your house, you're getting problem solvers who provide peace of mind to their customers, the homeowner. You're not getting sold something. They're not worried about meeting a sales quota or upselling on the next big thing. You're getting someone that's there to educate you and help you understand what is happening with your home. At USS, their only measure of success is how satisfied you are. That's why they're so proud of their 25,000 satisfied customers. USS, keeping homes dry and stable since 1994. They guarantee their best. Call USS at 615-488-7855, 488-7855, or USSTN.com, USSTN.com. The Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief has been located in Franklin, Tennessee for 3 decades plus now. Dr. Gill began his practice wanting to get people help without the need for popping pills on a regular basis, without the need for shots, and certainly without the need for consideration of surgery. And he's been doing so. Dr. Gill created and developed and handpicked a team of chiropractors like Dr. Wendy, Dr. Dominic, Dr. V, and others who can help you, over 100 years experience, who can help you alleviate the pain that you've been experiencing without the need for consideration of surgery, and certainly without having to pop pills. That's what it's all about. Don't take a pill. Call Dr. Gill is not just a slogan. It's a mission statement, and they want to help you. It's as simple as a telephone call. For less than $50, they'll get you in for a complete examination. They'll give you x-rays. They'll go over those x-rays. They'll talk to you about your needs and where your pain originates, and then they'll develop an action plan to help alleviate that pain. Pain-free. It's the way we want to be. 615-882-4838. 615-882-4838 for the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief in Franklin.
A deadly motorcycle crash in South Nashville over the weekend, and the case of a missing 7-year-old turns tragic. Those stories at 12:30. I'm Jay Harper on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. Harper. It is almost 12:30 right now. I'm running a little bit tardy, and so we'll get back to it in just a moment with you on the phones. Michael and Larry already lining up. The question is, where are you on fireworks, and do you believe you have what it takes to prove me I'm wrong as to my... Well, I don't want to say hatred. Hatred is a strong word. I don't get it. I guess I don't get it. I've seen it. I've been there. I've done that. And I don't quite understand the fascination with brightly colored explosions happening in the sky. And let me tell you, I do get agitated, annoyed, when at 12 o'clock at night, 3 days before the 4th of July, I got fireworks going off in the neighborhood next door to mine. I'm thinking to myself, all right, one, it's midnight. Two, and by the way, I maintain to you, none of this would be happening if alcohol wasn't involved. I maintain that fireworks would not be a thing without alcohol. 615-737-9986. Your phone calls coming up.
Good afternoon. It is 12:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Mostly sunny, 87 degrees, still rather hot, but not like it was over the weekend. We'll get a full forecast to you here in just a bit. A motorcyclist was killed in a South Nashville crash on Sunday. The accident involving the motorcycle occurred at Nolensville Pike and Ludi Street. The motorcyclist died after crashing into the car, which police say turned into the path of the bike. The victim is said to be a 43-year-old man. Police have not identified this person. Police also say they arrested the driver of the car. This driver didn't have a license and didn't have insurance. Additional charges may be possible. The Metro Nashville Police Department reported that a 7-year-old girl was found unresponsive in a pool near a family member's home on Village Drive in the Hermitage area. Police say that officers jumped into the water, pulled the little girl from the pool, and began resuscitation efforts. However, the girl did not survive. According to police, the child had walked away from her home at about 5:40 in the morning. Police say that she went through a fence and then tried to swim in a neighbor's pool in the 8-foot deep end. Her family reported her missing around 6 o'clock Sunday. That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hello, friends. We do what we can on a day-to-day basis to avoid these woke companies that grow bigger and bigger on a daily basis and spend so much of their money on this equity and inclusion nonsense. Big mobile companies are no different. For years, they've been dumping millions of dollars into leftist causes, and we have to take it because, you have to have a cell phone, right? Well, Patriot Mobile is here. They're America's only Christian conservative wireless provider, and I would encourage you to do your research, and I would encourage you to switch to Patriot Mobile when you do. They offer dependable nationwide coverage on all 3 major networks, so you get the best possible service in your area without so much of the woke politics. When you switch to Patriot Mobile, you send a message in what you believe in, like free speech, religious freedom, the sanctity of life, and the Second Amendment. They are 100% based in the United States. Their customer service team from right here. Go to patriotmobile.com/Murphy. You keep your phone, you keep your number. All you need to do is call and make the switch today. 878-PATRIOT. That's 878-PATRIOT. Free activation with the offer code Murphy, M-U-R-P-H-Y. Same dependable service, and take a stand for your values with Patriot Mobile. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is July 3rd. That means we have 23 days to convince Belle K to come on out to Hendersonville, Tennessee to join us as we celebrate Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Did you know that there's a new event coming up there, Belle K? At the
Korean barbecue?
The Korean barbecue joint over there in Hendersonville.
Korean
I'm excited.
Good.
I know on the promo it sounds like I'm insane, but I didn't realize we're branching out, getting away from the steak joints and into like Korean barbecue. That would be a great moment to celebrate. It would be great. I could pay you off if you get to your weight goal.
No.
What do you mean?
That was you ain't getting off that easy.
What do you mean getting off that easy?
You told me you would buy me a steak dinner. That is not a steak dinner.
How far away from you are you to your goal?
3.8 pounds.
3.8 pounds away from what is your goal? You still look a little chubby in the middle. What's I wish you could have seen. That was worth it. It was so worth it.
What the hell was that?
It was so worth saying it. The look, the expression on your face. I'm just, throwing it out there.
You want to AB? You want to compare?
No, I'm a chunk. That's why I'm losing weight. I'll tell you about that later. I'm down 13.
I'm down 65.
Oh, well, good for you. You started earlier. You started in February. January. Yeah. Anyway, I told you that I would I'd pay you a steak when you got your goal. I didn't realize you were, leaving.
I didn't realize you still look fat.
I didn't realize you were leaving like 10, 12 pounds on the bone. I'm just doing this for my amusement.
So you're saying I still look fat?
This was supposed to be a promo for the event on July 26th. Go to our website. Go on over there to 997wtn.com. You'll see it right there on the front page. Myself, Dan Mandis, Brian Wilson, Johnny B., Pamela Furr, all at J Street Korean Grill and Bar, and you are invited. Tickets are available to an evening with WTN on July 26th at 6 o'clock. Would love to see you. Would love to shake your hand or hug your neck. That is at the, once again, at the J Street Korean Grill and Bar with Brian Wilson, Johnny B., Pamela Furr, Dan Mandis, and yours truly, Matt Murphy, and maybe, just maybe, the svelty-looking Belle K.
So you're saying I still look fat?
Just, I'm not saying anything. I'm just surprised that we're only 3 pounds away from our goal.
Wow.
Well, you called me fat, too.
After you insinuated it on me.
I don't know that I insinuated any such thing. You look great. I wish the people on...
Now we call this backtracking.
I wish the people on... I think, I think you need a little meat on the bone. Outside of myself, none of the people on Super Talk TV can see you, so they can't confirm or deny my assert.
Why don't you just open up your face and put some pie in it?
I think I'm going to move on to the fireworks talk. It's Larry in Clarksville with a thought about fireworks. Hey, Larry, how are you?
Hey, Matt. Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah,
and I disagree with you on one thing, and then I absolutely agree with you on another. Growing up for our ginger friend in the 1680s in rural Cheatham County, we had a year-round open fireworks place that was like a 3-minute walk from my house. And back then, you could buy real fireworks, the cherry bombs and M80s. And back then, M80s were equivalent to a quarter stick of dynamite, which is kind of crazy. And black cat fireworks you could buy by the brick for, like little or nothing. And I could also get my cigarettes cheap there when I was 10. But
wait, what?
No. Let Larry talk. This is a stellar defense of fireworks. I went and got my fireworks with my smokes when I was 10.
Well, yeah, but they didn't sell beer, so I was kind of ticked off about that. But no, I went and got a brick, and now I don't even remember how many's in a brick, but it's a bunch. And my brother and I, who I've talked to you about before, who was not always the best influence on me, we sat at our kitchen table and broke open that entire brick of fireworks put them in aluminum foil, and took all the fuses and made like a 2-foot-long fuse. And back then, yes, and we did have cars, you would pull up to a gas station and say, fill it up with oil and check the gas. And even though those cars didn't get, that great of gas mileage back then. So oil would come in like, and I can't, I'm old. I can't remember if it was a 3 or a 4-gallon can. And you had these devices where you would, have to punch into the darn oil can to fill up your cars. Well, we took an old oil can and we shoved this device that we made down into this oil can, took it out to our backyard, and lit the fuse.
Well, that sounds brilliant, Larry.
Well, my brother's the engineer. I'm the DA.
Did you light it with your cigarette that you bought when you were 10?
No, I lit it with my cigarette lighter.
Oh, okay.
But
Zippo, or you going disposable on that one?
No, they were Zippos back then.
Yeah, I figured. Yeah.
So I lit it. Of course, he had me light it. He's 9 years older and, like I said, much smarter. So he had me light it, and then I took off running. We'd run back, we'd go back to the house and sit and wait. And I'm thinking, well, the fuses must have not worked out or something. So I start to walk out to my backyard. This thing goes off. It blows a hole in the ground 2 inches deep, the size of that oil can. But then the can lands on the roof. Now, we didn't live in a trailer, but the can lands on the roof of a trailer that was like 2 yards away from us.
Larry, far be it from me to get in the way of this titillating story, but what does this have to do with fireworks? You're lighting a 4-gallon oil can on fire. This is just like...
Well, no, it was empty.
It was empty?
No, yeah, it was empty. Because back then, dude, you had to fill up your darn car with oil,
I get it. First car I had, you had to carry a case of oil in the back of it.
Well, there you go. So, but back then, I loved fireworks, and because we got to blow crap up. But now with the 4 dogs, and then back when I was living in Westmead and had 7 dogs.
What do goats think about? Hey, Larry, what do goats think about fireworks? Do they give a rip about them?
Oh, Hank didn't care.
I don't think Hank cared about much of anything. How's Hank doing, by the way, Larry?
Well, he's about to get 2 new girlfriends. He's got 2 new kids.
Man,
Hank is doing.
When I come back, I want to come back as Hank,
goat pimp.
Telling you.
Well,
all the what are female goats called? What are female goats called?
Nannies.
Nannies. Yeah, all the nannies you want, all the food you want.
Yeah, and
just pimping around the backyard, man.
Well, and listen, Hank was a tremendous weed eater for me, and I miss him a lot. I miss him.
Larry, I hate to cut it short, but thank you, and God bless you, and happy 4th of July, Larry. I appreciate the oil can story. That's not exactly the spirited defense of fireworks that I was hoping for, but it works. It works. 7793 says, it's not always about you, Matt. No, it's not. But between noon and 3, Monday through Friday, it kind of is. I'm kidding. That's a joke. 7793. I'm just joking with you. Vernon is next in Madison. Hey, Vernon, how are you?
Very well. How about yourself?
I'm wonderful. Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
I'm guessing as conservatives, we're probably on the same side of the fence thinking that Americans have gotten out of touch. Is that correct?
Yeah, I wouldn't describe myself as a conservative, but I'm with you. Okay. So with that, one of the ways that we would tell people to get in touch with things is read first source documents, read the Constitution, stuff like that. So do you think fireworks might be dangerous and unsettling
as a celebratory concept on purpose?
No, I don't care that they're dangerous or unsettling. I just think they're stupid.
But what's their purpose?
There is no purpose.
Oh, yeah, it is. It's to remind us of all the gun chills and the explosions and death and dying that happened in our neighborhoods and in our farmlands. That's the purpose of the fireworks.
No, it's not. Vernon, Vernon, you think people go to 4th of July celebrations so they can remember everybody that died?
Not currently, no. No, but it is, like you mentioned, if fireworks are going off 3 or 4 days ahead of time, it's unsettling because you're not controlling things. And originally, the reason what is the Star Spangled Banner, where bombs bursting in air, it's representation of that.
I think people I think people just like things blowing up.
Well, if they associated, though, that's what we're supposed to be doing, is remembering the 4th of July. We're supposed to remember what it's like to be in a country that's not free and the price that was paid. And that comes with a lot of gunpowder.
Is it your assertion, Vernon? And I'm like I said, I asked you to call. I said, prove me wrong, and I like this. This is good. So is it your assertion that attending fireworks displays, if we are doing it with the right mindset, is almost a patriotic duty?
I would think so.
So it is a patriotic duty that we go downtown to Broadway this week.
No, I'm not saying it's being done properly. When you get into things, you always have to look at the spirit of it. And obviously, there are many people celebrating in the wrong spirit. But it's the job of leaders like yourself to help draw our attention to the meaning behind things.
Well, fireworks predated the United States of America here on our soil. I think early colonists brought fireworks with them from England and other parts of the world.
Yeah, I don't doubt that.
Well, and there's no doubt, there's no question that the connection between fireworks and bombardments and bombs bursting in air certainly has been around since the beginning of time. I would agree with you there, Vernon. But I do not question your logic. I just don't think many people are thinking about really about any of that when they're watching fireworks.
Well, I agree with you, and that's one of the reasons I'm drawing attention to it, is because I remember last year I'd heard more fireworks than ever before. I don't know if it was just the end of the pandemic or if people were just had extra spending money, but it was very unsettling. This nonstop explosions. It was easy to associate with military veterans that have PTSD and whatnot. And I was like, this really does sound like gunfire and bombs. And thank God I don't live in a country that goes through this daily.
Oh, no. Friday night, Vernon, it was like the Battle of Franklin, just off in the distance in Mount Juliet. It was that significant. It sounded like the Union soldiers had crossed over into Mount Juliet territory. Thank you for the call. That's the amount of action that we were getting on Friday night. I can only imagine what tonight and tomorrow night will be like.
Well, I think you're convoluting this way too much. And if you want to put fireworks in their place, you just remind people that it's a Chinese invention. So therefore, if you support fireworks, you support the Chinese Communist Party. Simple enough.
So wait a minute. Connect me again, because somebody's casting aspersions on my.
The Chinese invented fireworks,
right?
If you like fireworks,
right,
that means you support the Chinese Communist Party.
Yeah, that's a simple 1-2 punch right there. Historians believe that fireworks originally were developed, as Belkay just mentioned, in the 2nd century BC in ancient China. Believe that the first natural firecrackers were bamboo stalks that, when thrown in a fire, would explode with a bang because of the overheating of the hollow air pockets in the bamboo. Sometime around 600 to 900 AD, legend has it that a Chinese alchemist mixed potassium nitrate, sulfur, and charcoal to produce a black, flaky powder that became the world's first gunpowder. This powder was poured into hollowed-out bamboo sticks and later stiff paper tubes, forming the first man-made fireworks. Chinese invention in origin. 12:51, more conversation on this. Coming up in the 1 o'clock hour, Aaron Goldbranson of the Tennessee Faith and Freedom Coalition will discuss the goings-on in the state of Tennessee right now as it stands. We'll also talk with David Corlew about Independence Day and our military veterans coming up in the 2 o'clock hour. It's the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk.
This morning, authorities in Baltimore conducted a briefing on this past weekend's mass shooting. We'll have that information and a record-breaking travel weekend. Those stories and more at 1 o'clock. I'm Jay Harper on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Jay. It is about a minute until we get to Jay Harper and the top of the hour news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We'll suspend our spirited debate on fireworks and make way for the two Aarons, Aaron Goldbranson and Aaron Spratlin, with the Tennessee Faith and Freedom Coalition are coming in to talk about the latest involving special sessions and the possibility of the governor efforting to twist enough arms to get some form of red flag legislation, although they hate it when you call it that, but I don't know what I'm supposed to call it. Order of protection by any other name would not smell as sweet. We'll discuss that coming up in just a couple of minutes. From the super text line, 0020 says, this is why Americans use fireworks on the 4th, according to the wizard behind the curtain, AI. Americans use fireworks to celebrate the 4th of July holiday for several reasons. 1, historical significance. 2, symbolism. 3, patriotism and national pride. I think all three of those are bunk in reality. I don't think that people go to fireworks because they want to be a part of a historically significant event involving symbolism, maybe a little bit of patriotism and national pride. But number 4 is where we get into it. Entertainment and enjoyment. Fireworks are a source of joy and excitement for people of all ages, especially if they're drunk. I added that last part. They create a festive atmosphere. Drinking. And bring communities together to celebrate the holiday. Fireworks displays often accompany parades, concerts, and other festivities on the 4th of July. And a lot of people. It's 1 o'clock. We'll be back with the Aarons coming up in a moment on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 1 p.m., and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Mostly sunny. We're up to 87 degrees. Yeah, it's hot. Not like it was over the weekend, though. We'll get you your forecast here in just a little bit. Authorities in Baltimore today holding a briefing on this past weekend's mass shooting at a block party, but they give little information on possible suspects and details. Former FBI agent Brad Garrett says that authorities may be strategically withholding that information.
I can tell you that it's sometimes not a good idea to tell the public initially where you are, who you're looking at, so forth and so on. But it's a two-edged sword because you also need to give the community some comfort as to that you are making progress.
This holiday weekend has broken all-time travel records, as we hear from ABC's Alex Stone.
Coming out of the pandemic, travel demand has been huge, but never this huge. The TSA says on Friday, almost 2.9 million people went through security checkpoints at U.S. airports. That beats the previous record of the Sunday after Thanksgiving in 2019. And since Thursday, the TSA has screened about 2.7 million people every day. Those are records as well. Bottom line, airports are busy, and Tuesday and Wednesday of this week will be slammed again as everybody heads home.
According to the Nashville Fire Department, at least 10 units were affected by a fire early this morning at the Gazebo Apartments on Nice Drive in South Nashville. Firefighters arrived to find one side of the building nearly fully engulfed in flames and parts of the roof caving in. All residents were able to escape without injury and credit the fire alarms in the building for waking them up in time. Many of these folks are left without a home, however, and the American Red Cross was at the scene to assist these displaced residents. The cause of the fire still not known at this point. That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, Efficient Heating and Cooling is my company when it comes to heating, AC in my home, and I want it to be yours. Let's talk about Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling for a moment. They're great at what they do. One, they don't try to upsell you. Jeff knows that your AC and your heater has a life cycle. And naturally, in that life cycle, there's going to come a time where he has to tell you, hey, we're done here and we've got to move on. But he never wants that time to be a year or 2 years beforehand. And oftentimes it is the go-to answer for many of these companies that they tell you you need a new unit when you could get an extra year or two. Jeff knows what that means to the wallet, to the pocketbook. That's a major expense. So if you've been given advice about replacing your AC this hot summer, why not let Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling give you a second opinion? It could save you thousands of dollars, or at very least get you another year or two out of that AC unit. Plus, if your AC goes down, they never charge you overtime, even if it's 7, 8 o'clock at night. Your AC doesn't know what time it is, therefore they shouldn't charge you more, and Jeff Eddy never does. He keeps that overhead down in that fashion. Efficient Heating and Cooling offers free financing on your next unit. If the time has come, Jeff will tell you so. He's a diamond contractor with Mitsubishi Electric and an Elite Pro partner with Rheem. Give him a call today at 615-784-4424, 784-4424, or efficienthvac.net. All right, kids, here we go. This day before Independence Day, July 3rd. Welcome in our episode 371 of the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Pleased to have you with us. It's my only day of the week, as I am off tomorrow to celebrate our nation's independence with many of you. And for those of you who are not off, may I say something? Because largely you are first responders, your police officers, firefighters, medical personnel, your doctors and nurses, but even some of you that are running the convenience stores, gas stations, and whatnot. If you're working tomorrow, God bless you. Thank you for being there. For those of us who need you, we appreciate you, and happy Independence Day to everyone. We talked fireworks during the portions of the first hour, got as many calls here as we could, and we'll maybe get back to that in the last hour of the show. Plus, we're also welcoming David Corlew to the show. He's with the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project. We'll talk about our military veterans and the men and women that have made America so great and so safe for so long. That's at 2:05 this afternoon. Right now, we welcome the two Aarons in the Tennessee Faith and Freedom Coalition to the program. Aaron Goldbranson. I don't know if Aaron Spratlin's going to talk, but he's here. He's on mic. I hope he does. Gentlemen, thank you for being here. Welcome in. Good to see you. How are you?
It's always a pleasure to come into my favorite show in all of talk radio. So thank you very much, Matt.
You say that to all the kids. Hold on, Aaron.
I say that to all the girls, you know.
You say that to all the kids. What's up? Now, get out of the way so I can talk to the Aaron I really like. Hey, Aaron.
Hey, Matt. How are you, buddy?
Pretty good, man. You guys doing all right? You're moving and shaking over there at the Faith and Freedom Coalition.
We are. We had we just came off our annual conference in Washington, D.C. that was headlined by every single presidential candidate on the Republican side. Now, we do invite the Democrats if they feel like it, but for some reason they always decide that they're going to decline. But, of course, the gala was headlined by the last event we had was our annual Road to Majority Gala, and President Trump spoke. And I guess they like the job we're doing here in Tennessee because our national guys decided to stick me up on the stage, and there was only 3 other state directors on the stage with President Trump, and we had Carrie Lake up there and Mike Huckabee, and it was a pretty good time.
How long has the Tennessee Faith and Freedom Coalition been around?
Less than a year now.
I mean, you're kind of making some national waves there, right?
We are. We even got attacked by The View.
Yeah, I'm reading. We're gonna talk about that in just a second. That's pretty good. I know my friends. Sometimes I know my friends by the enemies that they keep, and those are some pretty good enemies to have right on The View.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. So Anna Navarro and Whoopi Goldberg called us out. Anna Navarro specifically said that our conference should be called the Your Faith Takes Away My Freedom Conference. So I guess she was making an allusion to the fact that we're pro-life and we don't like unborn babies being murdered. But, if you can, you are measured by the enemies that you have, and I will certainly count Anna Navarro and Whoopi Goldberg and the rest of the lovely ladies over at The View as enemies of faith and freedom.
And Navarro said, "Why is it so?" I mean, and by the way, this is a woman who used to claim to be a conservative. I mean, at least a Republican.
Yeah.
At one point, I don't want to get into the minutia of it, but she was kind of a Bush Republican.
Yeah.
But why is it shocking at this point? Evangelicals voted for Trump after we saw him attack a disabled person, after we heard him say horrible things about women, after he was accused incredibly of sexual harassment and even rape, after we heard him boasting about sexual assault on tape, and they still lined up and vote for them. At this point, I'm not shocked. I think this convention, instead of being called the Faith and Freedom Coalition, should be called Your Faith Takes Away My Freedom. Well, what freedom are you taking away, Aaron? Why are you taking away Aaron Navarro's freedom?
Well, given what she said, I'm only assuming that she has some sort of issue with the First Amendment because, of course, like I said, we provided a venue for all the presidential candidates to speak, and all the Republicans took us up on it. So I guess she's just insulted by, and inflamed with Trump derangement syndrome since he spoke there and actually gave one heck of a speech. He mentioned an issue that was near and dear to our hearts, using Title 42 to fight human and child trafficking. And there's a clause in there that enables you to do that. So it's not, of course, it's about securing the border, but there's a few other elements to it that are, if they're instituted, would be great.
It's a sad state of affairs that we have to rely on something like Title 42 in order to accomplish what is clearly defined in the immigration code, in our border security, but we do. And you guys, we were talking off air right before we got on, and it's one of those issues that Americans feel strongly about, but only when it is brought up to them. I think a lot of Americans, and I don't begrudge them this, they're getting ready for barbecues, they're getting ready to spend time with their family and friends and celebrate America's independence. It's easy, even for us in Tennessee, even as we see it on the highways of Tennessee, I think it's easy for us to kind of turn our head away and ignore it. The southern border is a big-time issue.
It is, and this is one of those things where, the left likes to use the emotional arguments going, oh, you don't want a bunch of people coming to the United States and looking for a better life. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about if you're for an open border and fostering it like the Biden administration is, you're talking about illegal drugs out of control, human and child sex trafficking and other kinds of trafficking happening out of control, institutionalized slavery, which is what human and child trafficking really is. We've had conversations about this before. And, of course, which should be something the far left doesn't like, illegal guns coming over the border. But, politics, right?
Fentanyl, human beings, illegal guns, drugs, obviously, and and forget the millions of individuals that are genuinely coming for a better life. They're still breaking the law, and we still have to put America's interest in front of their individual interest. But even forgetting those individuals, there are thousands, tens of thousands, who knows how many, of individuals coming here to do bad things.
Right.
Either terroristic type things, drug-related, or underground black market. So forget these the good individuals that are coming over. The bad far outweighs that, and Title 42 would solve a lot of these issues.
Right. And also there's a bit of legislation. So, one of the big fallacies of the far left argument during the Trump administration, of course, was the separating kids from their families. Well, kids are with adults when they're coming over the border, but by and large, they're not their families that they're with. And Senator Blackburn has a great bill of course, it demonstrates the importance of winning back the White House and winning back the Senate. But it has a DNA aspect to it where you can match and see if they're actually with their families, as they're saying.
Well, the separation of children from adults was only a thing when they could use it against Trump.
Right.
They're still doing it.
Yeah.
It's not a thing anymore because Biden is the one in charge of doing it.
100%.
Right. I've talked to people. I don't know if or when. Have you been, Aaron? Have you been to the border? I'm sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you have, because we talked about it. When you came back. Mm-hmm. You've seen with your own eyeballs.
Absolutely.
What's going on there. And Pamela Furr, our own Pamela Furr, just got back.
Right.
She was down there with the Americans for Prosperity, and she said that it is a level of chaos that even in our worst imaginations we couldn't fathom.
That's absolutely correct. Yeah, she's right on, because you only see the pieces that the media want you to see. Mm-hmm. There's so much more. It's a big border.
Yeah, and if I remember right, they the group that went actually wound up going to the place that Aaron went a month ago, so which is very cool.
Well, the lawmakers get it. Sadly, there are not enough lawmakers in the United States Senate that get it, that could get anything passed. So what do? We have to wait until another election cycle in order to expect any accomplishments on the southern border?
Well, of course, you have the things that are going on. There's various attorneys general around the country suing on it. You have governors sending, and Governor Lee sent 100 National Guardsmen down. I think the day after we talked about this with Aaron and you on the air, there's a number of things being done. But the truth of the matter is elections have consequences very, very, very much. And 2024 is right around the corner. November of 2024 is coming, and it is very important to make a change in Washington.
Representative Andy Ogles, and, setting aside whatever past history that Andy and I have, he has introduced articles of impeachment. There are several people that have against the president. And his center around his lack of effort on the southern border. Mm-hmm. I think this is a very, very difficult lift from an impeachment perspective, because an impeachment is a political event.
Right.
And I understand that you might get some push or weight behind it in the House of Representatives, goes nowhere in the Senate, because Democrats are just going to vote along party lines. But, considering what the Constitution says about it, do you think there's something to what Andy has proposed?
Well, we exist in the world of politics, and politically speaking, it's very good. But also, in this particular case, it happens to be the right thing. I would think defending the southern border or the northern border is a very basic thing the President of the United States should do. And if he's not doing it, he, in my opinion, is committing high crimes and misdemeanors. And I think Ogles is making a very, very good point on this issue. I think you're correct. It's not going to go anywhere in the Senate. It may gain some traction in the House, but it is something. It's a point that needed to be made, and I certainly praise Andy on that.
Well, yeah, the duty of the president is, amongst other things, defending the Constitution and to protect the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, right? Are you doing so? What you have to prove, you would have to demonstrate intentionality. And, that's where they that's why they get away with this stuff. They look at a judge and they say, we're trying our best, Your Honor. Everybody knows it's a lie.
Yeah.
The judge probably knows that it's a lie, but you have to prove that it's a lie in order to get to that intentionality.
I'll give you a good example of intentionality. Again, in politics, but, when Trump was in office, there was a task force dedicated to fighting human and child trafficking at the border. And because of politics, they de-emphasized it because they didn't want to draw attention to the border crisis. And anything that happens in the Biden administration falls at the feet of the chief executive, and he needs to answer for that. So I would argue that.
Hold on, Aaron. He has a border czar. What was her name? Oh, wait, Kamala Harris. That's right.
Comrade Harris.
She did a photo op in El Paso once, I think.
Yeah. Notice they didn't go to McAllen like Aaron Spradlin did. So.
No, they didn't go. They didn't go anywhere near the border in El Paso either.
There's that.
117 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The two Aarons from the Tennessee Faith and Freedom Coalition in studio with us, talking about some of the things they've got going on. You have your organization has made your opinion on the special session in August very plain. For those who have missed it, give us the synopsis. Where are you on this possibility of a special session?
Well, we're against the special session because of a variety of reasons, but chief and foremost is public safety. We believe that the Marxists, there's evidence of this out there. You've reported it. Pamela first talked about it. Of course, the Tennessee Star broke it. And there's 2 hours of audio talking about how Marxists from around the country and in the state are planning on descending on Nashville to disrupt and blank it up. You can guess what word was used there during special session. So, I believe that I'll be like Paul Revere on this one. The Marxists are coming. The Marxists are coming. The Marxists are coming. Now, that being said, I do believe at this point in time that special session is going to happen. I do believe that the wheels are turning away from there being a ERPO proposal as well as a red flag proposal. I think that's going to focus on public safety and mental health. That is the mood that I am now getting from the General Assembly and from some others. We had a productive meeting with the governor's chief of staff, and other subsequent conversations with staff that have been productive.
It's my understanding, not to interrupt you, but it's my understanding that during that meeting that you got some positive feedback that the governor himself would like to sit down with you.
Yes, and we're
movement on that?
My understanding is we're going to have that meeting within the next couple of weeks. So that's my understanding. And of course, we'll share some more. We're going to share our concerns with the governor, and we're going to focus on some things we can work together on. We got a commitment to work together, and we're fully committed to our side and their side on working to fight human and child trafficking. By the way, real quick, whenever we come on your show, we get some feedback from people.
Well, I like that.
And
hopefully all the right people.
Yeah, he got a text from a fan of ours that actually said, and I quote, "I honestly can't wait for the Tennessee Star article that states that your organization single-handedly stopped red flag laws in Tennessee." Of course, in partnership with great conservative champions like Jack Johnson. And now we don't want to claim we did anything single-handedly. It's because of friends like you, Matt, and the grassroots of Tennessee and other partners and other organizations around the state that we work with. But it's an important thing, and we're doing a lot of work on it.
I want to do something here, but I want to get your reaction to it because I had an opportunity, not in a formal setting like you guys did, but I had an opportunity to have an informal conversation with someone inside the governor's inner circle. And they said that the governor was attempting to lay low on the issue for a minute to give the lawmakers an opportunity to digest feedback from their constituents.
Yeah,
I want to try, and I trust me, people hate it when I do this. I want to try to give Bill Lee some benefit of the doubt because here's what his people say. They say, while we brought up the concept of order of protection, that the special session, we are a blank slate when it comes to the special session. We are asking the question whether or not there is anything to be done, whether or not there are any gaps in the law that can be filled without denying individual Tennesseans their constitutional rights. If that is true, is that enough to merit a special session with all of the threats of outside individuals coming in your opinion?
In my current opinion, I still hold to the fact that, the left likes to use the phrase, if you could save one life kind of thing. And we know there's planning going on. And I believe very, very much that, listen, he doesn't whine about it. William Lamberth was punched in the kidney by a member of Moms Demand Action during the waning days of session. At the very least, something like that is going to happen. If there is, these people are planning on coming armed to the Capitol. There's all sorts of chaos that can break out. And now, I do think that there's a commitment to increase security, but we're talking the Capitol grounds and the immediate area outside the Capitol. We all saw what happened in 2020, and now they're having months to plan for this. So this is a very major concern. And so the alarm that I am sounding, and we're sounding as an organization on this, is to us the most prudent thing would be to not have special session. But if you do have special session, which that appears to be the case, then you have to make whatever you can say publicly in terms of security concerns done and address those, but also obviously privately, because you're not going to give up your plan to the terrorists. Make sure it is locked down and everybody's safe, from the legislators on down to the interns, down to the grassroots people that want to come out and support the Constitution at the Capitol.
No, I get it. I get what you're saying, right? You don't acquiesce to the demands of terrorists, but life is a risk-reward proposition. And if there is no reward, if there's no benefit, if we recognize a lack of benefit for getting together, then why would we take the risk that they might be able to do something harmful to our lawmakers or whatever? I get it. 22 after the hour. We'll continue the conversation in just a moment with the Tennessee Faith and Freedom Coalition on the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy for the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix coming to Nashville, Tennessee, racing on the streets of Nashville. If you happen to catch, and maybe some of you did, I know I did, the street race in Chicago, with the NASCAR boys yesterday. Man, oh man, you want to take that and multiply times 10, better scenery, better people, better food, better music, and open wheel race cars? What are you talking about? The August 4th to August 6th event is in downtown Nashville, and the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix is bigger and better than ever. The course is designed to challenge the drivers and to thrill the viewership. New for 2023 is Saturday night racing, a family fun zone, and an early 11:30 start. Fan favorite returns with the high-flying stadium super trucks. That's happening Saturday night. Tons and tons of racing, and it's all capped off with Sunday's NTT IndyCar Series racing through the streets of Nashville. You can get day tickets, and you can get a 3-day pass. All you need to do is go to MusicCityGP.com. For the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix, get amped. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix, the 4th through the 6th of August. MusicCityGP.com.
President Biden planning on a July 4th celebration before heading overseas. And power problems persist in Middle Tennessee. Those stories at 1:30. I'm Jay Harper on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Jay Harper. It's 1:27, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. A few more moments with our good friends, the Aarons from the Tennessee Faith and Freedom Coalition. I bet they're tired of me calling them that. It's Aaron Spradlin and Aaron Gold-Branson. So just to put a capper on the possibility of is there anything in your mind as you talk to Republican representatives, and maybe we can put a cap on this segment because I want to talk about a few other things in one more segment with you guys, but is there anything that you believe could be accomplished that isn't already on? I'm struggling. I try to get up to speed on all of these issues and what the Tennessee laws say about this. You have an ability to temporarily involuntarily incarcerate someone who is posing a danger to themselves and to others. My position has been, if someone is such a danger that we're willing to take away one of their rights, then we should be willing to take away all of their rights, at least temporarily, to make sure that we get a handle on their mental status. But that's already on the books. So I'm trying to figure out what exactly we're talking about if we're not talking about red flag laws.
From our perspective, I think it's been said enough, but I'm going to say it again because it bears repeating, and I understand why conservatives who've been burned in the past get a little hairy about this. The General Assembly is not going to pass a red flag law. There is no red flag law sponsor at this point in time that can get any votes. Listen, just to be really, really blunt, Jack Johnson and William Lamberth have their caucuses on lock. They are the number one defenders of the Second Amendment in the state right now.
And by the way, I would note that obviously, for those who don't know, the governor needs someone to carry his bills.
Right.
And I think this, I don't want to, let's put it this way. I do not believe that the Senate Majority Leader or the House Majority Leader, I do not believe that they are willing or believe that it would be prudent for them to carry any of this legislation.
That is correct. And I think that there's a significant chance that you see no proposal made on that resembles it whatsoever. Not rebranding, not anything like that. And this is one of those things where, as conservatives who are very, very who pay attention, if we go into there, which we've already stated extensively as an organization, is not something we should do because of the things. But if we go in there, we are going to make lemons. We're going to make lemonade out of lemons. And if there is a possibility of increased training standards, for example, on SROs and keeping schools themselves safer, there was already a significant amount done at the end of session on this. But if there is anti-child trafficking stuff that can come out of this special session, we've talked about this before. We should have had a special session years ago on human and child trafficking. So, in the opinion of Aaron Gulbranson and Tennessee Faith and Freedom, if we can at least make that a theme of a special session, one of the primary ones, then we'll turn this around and make that lemonade.
I don't know if this proposal has come up, but it occurs to me that in Davidson County, in the Metro Nashville school system, the Adrian Battle continues to refuse to allow SROs in elementary schools.
Right.
For no reason that makes any sense to me. Why not that? Why? I mean, I am hesitant to have a state take over the ability for local municipalities to make their own rules and regulations. But if the situation is pressing enough, why not pass a law saying every school in the state of Tennessee, as funded by the Tennessee State General Assembly, is to have an SRO inside of it while school is in session?
That's fair to me. And honestly, one of the things that is consistent in these blue areas is insert name of whether it's school board member, council member, district attorney. I like to mention this as often as I can, but Glenn Funk right here in Nashville and Steve Mulroy out there in Memphis, they don't do their job. And there's some steps that have been taken to appoint special prosecutors around them. But maybe one of the things that comes as a result of this is the General Assembly passes a law, whether special session or at some point in time, that gives them the same oversight they have over those district attorneys as they do on judges.
Aaron Gulbranson, sticking around for another segment, Tennessee Faith and Freedom Coalition on this day before Independence Day. We'll talk about Independence Day in a moment. I'll also ask him a question. I mean, it stands to reason that I would ask him a question about the candidacy of Donald Trump, considering that he stood on stage with him, 3 weeks ago? Not even that.
10 days ago, maybe.
Holy moly. A tall fellow. Tall drink of water.
He is.
Yeah. He says he's 225, 230.
He's a lot thinner than you would expect in person. The way he cuts his suits, and it's pretty interesting. And the vest, yeah. I honestly,
that's good.
Yeah,
I like.
he
That's
really
good.
Is. Yeah,
that's good. I appreciate that. It's 132 on Super Talk.
It is now 1:33, and I'm Jay Harper with your top story. It's mostly sunny, 89 degrees. How hot will it get today? Well, we'll get you a full forecast in a couple of minutes. President Biden planning a big 4th of July celebration at the White House.
President Biden spent the weekend in Camp David, but is slated to return to the White House Tuesday for his third Independence Day celebration on the South Lawn, holding a barbecue and concert for military families. This time next week, President Biden will be across the pond in London, sitting down with King Charles III. This will be the president's first meeting with Charles since he was crowned king. The president will also meet with the English Prime Minister and then head to Lithuania for a NATO summit.
That's ABC's Jay O'Brien. Thousands are still without power across Tennessee As storms rip through the state over the weekend, there are about 1,300 customers still without power with Nashville Electric Services. NES told Fox 17 News in a statement that crews are continually working to restore electricity to customers. NES added that one of the big reasons they're having trouble is that 34 power poles broke due to the severe weather on Friday and Saturday in the Nashville area. That is the latest news. We've got weather on the way. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy for Paul Winkler and everything that Paul Winkler brings to the Middle Tennessee community. I learned about Paul's message early on when I came to Nashville, Tennessee. I became a client, and then I became an endorser. And as I became an endorser, I am now paid to speak well about Paul Winkler, and I'm required to tell you that, fiduciary responsibility and all of that. But I'm not paid to be a client, and I'm a client because of the education that I receive from Paul and his teams. 10 separate offices, chartered financial planners in each office, and Paul believes in helping you understand his approach to planning and investing first and foremost. Nothing is done on commission. They are big on education. It is evidence-based and backed by Nobel Prize-winning research. You know me, and you know that I would not recommend anything that I don't truly believe in, and I believe in Paul Winkler and his message. PaulWinkler.com for more information, or 615-851-1950, 851-1950, or PaulWinkler.com. Call today. Tell him Matt Murphy sent you to Paul Winkler. Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy. I want to talk to you about a journey that I just began on several weeks ago, and it's PhD weight loss. PhD weight loss is incredible. PhD weight loss, I've done some programs in the past, and I need a structured environment. Structured does not necessarily mean hungry all the time. Structured doesn't mean limiting. Structured means just that, something that is tailored specific to my needs that I know is going to work. So I've been on the program about 2 weeks, and I put myself on the scale this morning. I've lost 13 pounds so far. The average male is going to lose between 3 and 5 pounds per week. The average female between 2 and 3 pounds per week. Just different body types and different environment within the body and metabolisms. If you don't get within 5 pounds of your target weight by the end of your program, this is incredible. PhD is going to continue to coach you for free until you do. That is the PhD weight loss guarantee. Friends, PhD works. I'm evidence of it. I'm just beginning my journey, and I'm so pleased to be able to tell you about that journey as it becomes a reality. I invite you to join PhD Weight Loss today and see how they can help you as well. PhD Weight Loss. Go to myphdweightloss.com. That's myphdweightloss.com for more information and get signed up today. No clue on time on that because I didn't realize I had to do it there. So we might need to redo. I'll want to redo that to send to Russell anyway after the show. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, Matt Murphy Show in progress. Tennessee Faith and Freedom Coalition with us in studio. Aaron Goldbranson, Aaron Spradlin. So we discussed the General Assembly and the goings on in the state of Tennessee. Any thought on when the judge struck down portions of HB1? It concerned me until I read more about it.
Right.
And as I read more about it, it concerns me less. I don't believe that this is going to be a permanent thing. I think that HB1 will pass muster. Now, the judge made comment about certain, First Amendment rights or whatnot that might be in violation. I don't buy it.
Right. I think you're right. I think that that's very important who leads. And, of course, on this topic, you had Jack Johnson and William Lamberth with the bill, but also now we have Attorney General Jonathan Skrmetti leading the appeal on it. Now, the important thing to note is while they did strike down the hormone,
puberty blockers.
The puberty blockers criminal penalty, the civil penalty is still in there. And so that will largely serve until that decision is ultimately overturned.
And the surgeries.
Yeah, and the surgeries are gone. So we are far better. We are 90% better than we were a year ago on that topic, in spite of this bad judicial decision. But I think we're going to wind up at some point along the way before the U.S. Supreme Court, and we will all have a good day in the state of Tennessee once they rule in the state of Tennessee's favor.
Since you bring it up, the courts last week, what an incredible week. And I said that, I know what I would love to see happen in 2024. I know that Donald Trump, outside of something dramatic occurring, will be the nominee, and I'll be in full support of Donald Trump in his attempt to serve another term. That said, if he never serves another day in the White House, his legacy is strong. It is embedded in the bedrock and fabric of America's history because of the Supreme Court nominees that he put up and because of those nominees that were confirmed. We've got a solid conservative court that I think, the liberals would say, oh, it's wacky, it's crazy. What did Joe Biden say? That this is not a normal court. I would say that we're getting the court back to normal constitutional-based decision-making.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's kind of funny, right? There's a group based out of Williamson County with some minor so-called conservative leadership that are never Trumpers, but they bash on Trump and they said he was a bad president. How you can say that overturning Roe v. Wade as a conservative was a bad thing? How you can say that overturning affirmative action was a bad thing? How you can say that the federal government not shifting $400 billion in debt to the taxpayer from student loan holders, myself included. I have student loans. I didn't happily take them on, but I'm happily repaying them. I don't know how you can bash President Trump on his judiciary picks at this point in time.
No, and you add to that, and I would just say, outside of the judicial realm, you look at some of the biggest legacy moments of the Trump administration. Clearly, his economic policies were working. The southern border policy was working. Hell, moving the embassy to Jerusalem.
Yeah.
Something that 30 years of presidents said that they wanted to do, but it's really tricky. And Trump comes in and just does it.
Yeah.
And it's done. And these types of politically earth-shattering moments. The elimination, declaring by the Supreme Court that while there might have been a time of importance for affirmative action, but that time is gone. It was really the Sandra Day O'Connor model, where she said, within 25 years, I see a time where we're not going to need affirmative action again, and that time has come. And that should be a moment of celebration. We celebrate because it is a point of moving forward for America. Sadly, there are way too many people race hustling out there that aren't celebrating. They're screaming from the rooftops.
There's too many race hustlers in this country on the left. There's too many grifters on the right. And there's people that want to take issue after issue after issue and twist them. And of course, one of them sits on the U.S. Supreme Court, Tangi Brown, Jackson Brown is who we're talking about. But, and I do want to underscore this these decisions are amazing. They're legacy shaping. They're things. We had a little debate at the beginning of the General Assembly session because the General Assembly was struck with whiplash, had no idea in their entire lifetime that Roe v. Wade would be overturned. Of course, they made the right decision at the end of the day. These are things that are important and underscore the importance of taking the White House in 2024, because I do have something to tell the audience, especially all the faith-based people that follow tnfaithfreedom.com, tnfaithfreedom.com. See what I did there? Clarence Thomas is not immortal. I mean, I don't think he is. I hope he is. He's the best justice on the Supreme Court. But the next president of the United States has a good shot of replacing Clarence Thomas on that court, which then would change it again. But we need to make sure that every voter of faith turns out in 2024. They turn out and they vote at every level, for all the way from president down to school board. And
Thomas is the eldest on the court now, right?
I believe so.
I think that's right.
He's longest tenured, definitely.
Yeah, certainly. No, I would agree with you. I mean, it's a never-ending battle, and certainly there are still battles to be fought on the federal courts all up and down up and down the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would argue that many of the courts of appeals still lean activist, but you hit the most important one, and you've gotten it solidified as a 6-3 court, or really a 5-4 court, because you never know where Roberts
likes to be on the winning side, and that's kind of where he goes on things. If you've noticed that, and he's certainly different than when. Listen, Bush didn't win them all, obviously, and there's many issues with the Bush presidency. But I will say Samuel Alito, that's a great Supreme Court justice. So. By the way, I don't want you to forget, because shameless plugs. But aren't you coming?
I'm coming. I was getting to it. That was going there next. Go Branson. Go Branson showing off his hosting chops, just leading us where we go. July 12th, right?
Yes,
That's
sir.
when we're getting together?
Yes, sir.
Well, what am I getting myself into? What is this?
So, we're going to tar and feather you. No, seriously. So, at Wednesday, July 12th.
Going to whip the libertarian out of me. That's what you're going to do. There
you go. Well, we're all of like mind just about on most things. But at the Williamson County Public Library meeting room on Wednesday, July 12th in Franklin, Tennessee, from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30, you, the eminent Matt Murphy, who your bio is the greatest radio bio I've ever seen in my life. It says the world has not been quiet since the day you've been born.
Matt Murphy was born on September 1st, 1973, and the world has known no peace nor quiet ever since.
Yeah, it's an awesome bio. But you're speaking at the gathering, and as is from the Blaze TV, Jill Savage. So that's
she's the real draw. Obviously, I'm just second fiddle to Jill Savage.
Have you met Jill yet?
I have not. I can't wait.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. She is a fiery conservative fireball. Yeah, that's the easiest way to describe her, and she's great. We had a really great meeting.
That's a nice balance. You got the fiery conservative fireball, and you got me. I'm always low key, never raise my voice about anything.
No, never at all. well, we're gonna have a good time.
We'll have a good time. Open to the public?
Yeah, open to the public. So if you're a leftist, you're probably not going to enjoy your time there, but you might learn something. So anybody listening, July 12th, 5:30 to 7:30 at the Williamson County Public Library. Come on down, and you can find it on our Twitter and our social media, which is just across the board at TN Faith Freedom or tnfaithfreedom.com.
Yeah, y'all come. I'd love to see each and every one of you. It's just over a week away, July 12th at the Williamson County Public Library.
Yes, sir.
Room, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it's
blah,
a big
blah.
room. It fits a
just
200.
Just follow the yelling, and you'll find us. Yeah. Before you go, are you surprised, either Aaron's, but are you surprised at the number, considering the dynamics in the polling we're seeing, so considering the support? Donald Trump is getting support much like an incumbent president would receive. Yet he's getting challenged like he's not an incumbent, and I understand that he's not. Are you surprised at the number of Republicans that are throwing their hat in the ring?
I think a fair amount of them are running for vice president of the United States. I mean, I would put Tim Scott in that category. I would put Vivek Ramaswamy in that category. There's a number of them. You have a number of the really, really minor ones that are just trying to get their name out there. DeSantis is running to win, I believe. I don't think that gulf is going to be mended. But no, I'm not surprised, because technically, and it's an open seat, and every single time we saw this in 2008, we saw this in 2012, right? We saw this in 2016. There's tons and tons and tons. The only, Trump has the numbers, like you just mentioned, of a incumbent presidential candidate, and there's a fairly large size of the base, of course, that are ridiculously upset about 2020, which is why he has those kinds of numbers. I will say it's rather interesting. Many people, including myself at some point in time, said in some form or fashion on some medium or another that Trump needed to stop talking about 2020 and move on. I think that was one of the cases, honestly, that in the primary that helped solidify the base for him by continuing to talk about it.
But moving forward, I mean, at some point he's got to transition to
pivot.
general election footing,
Yes.
right? And I understand that we're way before that point.
Yeah.
But as 2023 becomes 2024, at some point we've got to get that 10% or 12% or whatever it might be of the squishy middle that pays little to no attention in the offseason.
Right.
And you got to get them back. And you have to convince him. You have to overcome. I mean, and this is not an easy lift in the general. You've got to overcome the messaging of the mainstream media.
Right. And you have to go around them. You have to, I would exhort the former president, and, we know he listens to the show, right?
Sure. Still doesn't follow me on Twitter, but that's another thing.
To get back on, he needs to get back on Twitter is my unsolicited advice.
I agree.
And I will say during the speech that I was sitting 5 feet away from him during, he brought up a number of issues that are not political, but they're very important. And one of which, of course, is human and child trafficking. If you put in, I kind of phrase it as the far left's Marxist left's war on children, right? So, of course, we've, with the drag shows and kids being included there, all the craziness of so-called Pride Month we just had, that's an issue. The transgender issue, fine. Those are parts of the war on children that they're perpetrated. Of course, abortion, you could certainly talk about that as well. Eventually, you need to emphasize those things, but you need to overarchingly emphasize the economy at the end of the day and the growth that can happen. Because the one common thing people always ask me or the executive director, Tim Head of the national organization, what do faith-based voters care about? And all the things we just mentioned, they really, really care about. But faith-based voters and all voters care about how much money's left in their wallet at the end of the week, the amount of money they're paying for gas, the amount of money they're paying for their groceries, whether or not they can take that, July trip to the beach with their family, which is important because people will, save and scrape $50 a week the whole year and get it and hopefully get it done. But there's people not doing that under Biden.
Yeah, are you better off
than
you were 4 years ago? I mean, it's a pretty simple message. Carville was right. It's the economy stupid first, foremost, and last. I would say, and you might disagree with this, and I love disagreeing with you, Cole Branson, that you allow the abortion victory to be the abortion victory and you let it lie. And not because we don't believe in it, not because Dobbs was not a rightly decided Supreme Court decision, because women in the middle, I think differently. I think it hurt us more in 2022 than we gave it credit for.
I only half disagree with you. I think it's important to emphasize where it wins. And because this is an electoral college we're talking about, the popular vote is, as we've seen, is virtually meaningless. It's a talking point by the media. But yes, what wins in Tennessee is not the same as what wins in Michigan, and that's something that all of us recognize. And it's important to emphasize.
Or sadly, my home state of Georgia. Now.
Yeah. Your state right now, it looks like only Brian Kemp can win the dang thing. I mean, geez, and something in the water there.
We just need to ship Abrams out to California. We'll be fine.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, no, great conversation as always. I look forward to the 12th. I appreciate you guys coming on. The two Aarons from the Tennessee Faith and Freedom Coalition. Thank you, gentlemen. Spradlin. Pipe him down and you pipe up a little more next time. Would you do that for me?
We're 2 for 2. I said you're just one.
No. See, you were talking so little. We turned
We're 2 for 2, and 2 shows back to back, and at least I get to watch and be entertained. And I can off air plug in some things. So
but Aaron, that's what you got him for, right? You just wind him up and let him go.
It's really kind of fun, to be honest with you, for the last 9 months, running side by side and, A squared as we joke and, you call us the two Aarons. We will not get sick of that. Maybe we'll start our own show. Who knows?
Oh, I like that. Oh, we should talk about that. All right, there they are from the Tennessee Faith and Freedom Coalition. It's 153 on Super Talk.
This morning, authorities in Baltimore conducted a briefing on this past weekend's mass shooting. And what do Americans think of the recent Supreme Court decisions? I'll fill you in at 2 o'clock. I'm Jay Harper for Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. Harper. One more hour to go. Pamela Furr in for Brian Wilson in the drive this afternoon. I'm off tomorrow and for the rest of the week. Just a little bit of a programming note there. In for me, who knows? I don't know as we stand. It might be Des Dickerson, might be Cameron Smith, I think it is Cameron Smith for a couple of days later on in the week. We'll continue talking fireworks and Independence Day. We'll actually talk about our military veterans, those men and women that make our independence so secure. Thank you to all of you. If you are a former or current military member, we'll talk with David Corlew about the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project. That's coming up next on The Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good afternoon. It is 2 p.m., and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Mostly sunny, 89 degrees. How hot can we expect things to get today? Well, we'll have the forecast and fill you in on that here in just a little bit. Authorities in Baltimore today holding a briefing on the weekend's mass shooting at a block party, but giving little information on possible suspects and details of the incident, which left 2 teenagers dead and 28 people injured. ABC's Ike Egiachi tells us what was disclosed is that police are sure they are looking for more than one shooter.
They say that the bullets they found did not come from just one gun. They say it came from at least 2 guns. Now, as of this recent press conference, the things that police officers have at least not told the public right now is the motive. They have not discovered a motive as to why this shooting took place. They're going on right now, not only canvassing the scene, but questioning several neighbors and community members about what they saw, what they heard.
A new ABC News Ipsos poll found that most Americans approve of the Supreme Court's decision to end affirmative action in college admissions. Here's ABC's Jay O'Brien.
A little more than half of Americans, 52%, say they approve of the High Court's decision to bar the use of affirmative action in college admissions, according to our new ABC News Ipsos poll. 32% say they disapprove of the ruling, a majority of Republicans and independents agreeing with the court, and 60% of white respondents, along with 58% of Asian respondents, also siding with the justices. Only 25% of black respondents agreeing with the decision.
As for the court's decision this past Friday to strike down the president's student forgiveness plan, 45% of Americans said they supported that decision, while 40% said they did not. That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
All right, kids, here we go. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Matt Murphy and you on the radio, 99.7 FM on your radio dial. You can also find us on a variety of streaming platforms, really any streaming location of your choice. Just type in Super Talk 99.7 WTN, any portion of, and you'll get to us. We're also on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch via the TV. I have no idea why they would want to put an ugly mug like mine on television, but they did, and we've been there for a hot minute. You can also communicate with us at the F&M Bank chat line. It's right there on Super Talk TV. Whatever platform you use, if you use those chat features, it feeds right over to the TV side, and we'd love to see you. And we'd love for you to see our next guest. David Corlew has become a friend. He is the former manager of the Charlie Daniels Band and Charlie Daniels himself. He is a co-founder of the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project, and we could think of no better time to talk about our military men and women who have served the United States of America so proudly and honorably, who come home and are in need of service, and we can provide so much of that by giving to the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project. To talk about all of these things, we welcome friend David Corlew to the show. What's up, man?
Thank you, Matt. Independence Day.
Independence Day is up, no doubt. Now, let's go ahead and get the elephant out of the room.
Okay.
No Tuffy. That's okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make do without him.
We're a little sad right now.
I mean, you said that you reminded me of one of mine, my middle guy, Munson. Every time I leave the house, he looks at me like I just hit him. And he's just like, "What are you doing, man?"
When I leave, when I know that he can't go, I go, "Tuffy, you stay home. I'll be back." And he immediately goes and gets on the bed, puts his head as flat on the bed as he can, and then it's over. He won't look at me. And then when I get home tonight, he'll avoid me for a while.
If my wife E is not around, and they know, dogs are so smart, and we've got 3 of them. And my oldest, John Henry, could give a rip. The youngest, she's just a ball of fire no matter what's going on. But he's the sensitive child, Munson, and he sees me getting ready to leave, and long before it, because the 2 youngest go into crates, long before I tell them go, and because if I say go to bed, long before. He will take one of his balls. He loves his tennis balls. Takes one of his balls, puts it in his mouth, and goes into his crate. He'll nudge it open with his nose and get in his crate and just lay there and look so pathetic.
I do the same thing when they won't take me.
Well, I'm so glad you're here. I'm glad you stopped by. I mean, today's a great day to talk about what you guys do at the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project. But before we do, will you indulge me a couple of questions? Having not so much to do about that, but having to do with your relationship with Charlie, because I've gotten to know you,
right?
And I never had the honor of meeting Charlie Daniels, and it was a goal of mine to meet Charlie Daniels. But I'm just curious how you two got together and hooked up, and how you became his manager.
Well, I'm sorry that you didn't get to meet him. He was an extraordinary guy. He was a great patriot.
I felt like I knew him through Twitter.
You know what? We all, something that we dealt with in the office, because people at headquarters, people would meet him, and he was so engaging that everybody thought if they had only met him one time, they would go, "Oh, I know Charlie. He's my friend." And that, it really, in essence, it was the truth. He made you feel like you were the only guy in the room or girl. He was endearing. He was a nice guy, and I think that bled over. That's why when we went downrange, when he went to the military bases and stuff, not only would he see a kid and he signed autographs for everybody. We would stay at some of the forward operating bases till daylight. For him, he would sign autographs for anyone that was in the audience. But when the kid came up and go, he would always say, "Where are you from?" And you would say, "I'm from Alabama." He'd go, "What part?" And you would tell him, and he would always say, I love that barbecue place on 5th and Centerville or something.
Right,
and
right.
so it gave that soldier another piece of home that he didn't get from just the handshake and the autograph. It made him realize, it made the soldier realize that he really cared, that he had been in his town, he had been in his part of America, which is small town USA, is where all these kids come from that have defended our country and given us the independence that we are celebrating this weekend.
No doubt about that. How long was Charlie from Mount Juliet?
No, he was born in North Carolina.
That's what I thought.
In Sanford, North Carolina. Grew up suckering tobacco. He literally learned to play the banjo and some of the instruments listening to the Grand Ole Opry on a dirt floor. So there was a point in time when we were trying to get him in the Country Music Hall of Fame, and because in the 70s we were a rock act, we were with Marshall Tucker Band, the Allman Brothers.
Uneasy Rider, those
we
days.
were not a country act until Urban Cowboy. But he would...
I don't mean to interrupt you, David, but is that kind of the demarcation? Urban Cowboy?
That was it. Urban Cowboy changed his career for the good, and I can't say it was the bad, but we were a Southern rock act, and we toured with the Rolling Stones, Allman Brothers again, like I said, Skinner. We were a rock act, and when Devil Went Down to Georgia ended up on the soundtrack, and we ended up in the film. Charlie was in the film, Urban Cowboy. It pigeonholed us into the country market. We had never worked a state fair. We had never worked the cliche gigs that country acts did.
Wasn't Ronnie Millsap was in that film too, wasn't he?
No,
I'm wrong.
Gilly.
I'm wrong. No, it was Mickey Gilly. It was Mickey Gilly. So for some reason, so I'll tell you my earliest memory of Charlie Daniels. And so I watched Urban Cowboy, and I don't know why. What was it, 1980? Something around in there, 81, something.
80,
yeah. All right. So I would have been like 7 years old.
Yeah.
And Charlie on stage playing Devil Went Down to Georgia and playing his fiddle. And for the most part, and I don't know, I mean, he had his eyes closed. And I don't know why, but I thought he was blind. I mean, because he was getting on it, and he was getting on the fiddle, and he had his eyes closed when he was getting on the fiddle. And for some reason, and I spent the first 2 or 3 years of my life knowing Charlie Daniels, thinking he was blind.
Well, he did have eyesight issues. He had big eyesight issues.
Did he really?
And his eyes continued to deteriorate until he was able to get the surgery in it, and it was well. But he did close his eyes when he performed. But he also did have eye issues. So, and then the glasses were always an issue when we were doing TV or we were shooting. The lights, when they were lighting him face forward, would always put a big circle.
When did your relation? And I know you hate talking about yourself.
No, I do that.
Well, and you love talking about Charlie. But when did your relationship begin?
I actually met him in like 71 or so. He was in town. He was doing an album. He was producing an album on Jerry Corbin, who was one of the artists in the band Youngbloods. So he was working with Jesse Colin Young and Jerry Corbett, these guys from hippie bands and from San Francisco, and Charlie was producing a record. I worked in a record store. There was a radio station in Nashville called WMAK. There was a guy named Scott Shannon, Super Shan, who ended up going to L.A. and created Pirate Radio.
Oh, yeah.
And then he went to New York. He's an icon.
Big name.
Yeah. And Scott had a record store in Hillsborough Village. And I had a job running a track drill shooting dynamite in the wintertime. It was cold. I was looking for a job indoors, and I found a listing for a record store clerk, and I took that job. And it was during you got to figure Hillsborough Village was the Haight-Ashbury of Nashville. So all those college campuses, you're looking at 70, 71, 72. 21st Avenue was just... It was
a lot of young hippies and our version of that.
But being on Music Row, we were right across the street from the Pancake Pantry, and a lot of musicians, a lot of artists would come into the store. Jerry Corbett came in. We talked. He said, "We're in town. There's a couple of the band guys from San Francisco. We take off. We go out that night. It used to be an old, what Charlie called a skull orchard, called the Briar Patch. We went there, stayed up all night, partied. Next morning, Jerry has to be in the studio.
Wait, a skull orchard?
That's what Charlie used to call them.
That's pretty good. Anyway.
Yeah. So we go to the studio the next day, and I meet Charlie. Charlie was sitting at the mixing board, and he introduced me as Charlie's producer. And And so we met then, but a couple of years later, fast forward, he came in the store and said that he was looking for someone to drive an equipment van and set up equipment. And I was 23 years old, and I just said, I'm in.
Sign me up.
Sign me up. And I just told somebody the other day, I just had my 73rd birthday, June 26th. So 73 years old. So 50 years ago on June the 26th, I was driving through Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana. I was in a 1970 Chevrolet van. I had a van full of equipment. We returned with Black Oak, Arkansas. We returned with the Allman Brothers, Marshall Tucker Band. I was in my heyday. I thought life is never going to get any better than it is right now, and that's where it started.
And almost a 50-year relationship with the band.
Did you expect that job would stick around, that you were going to be doing that long term?
No, but when you're that age, you don't ever think that far. I thought right now I'm in a good place,
right.
And he had Uneasy Rider. That was while we were touring. Uneasy Rider was a big,
that was a mega hit.
It sold 800,000 singles. It sold 800,000 singles, and so that was what he was known for. So we'd do that song, but then the other 8 or 9 songs, 10 songs in the set were all jam songs and twin guitar parts, and we had 2 drummers, we had 2 guitar players. It was.
Charlie was a jam band.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So remember, Bell, the lesson that you take from this first segment with David Corlew is this: that when in doubt, go ahead and kick old Green Teeth right in the knee. That's your best. That's your best play. I don't
know what you guys are doing around here, but you guys are all mere shadows of your former self. Everybody's lost weight.
Well, everybody's on a weight loss plan.
I'm going to start hanging around here. I need to drop some pounds.
Not to go backwards in the interview, but I met Charlie half a dozen times, going all the way back to my days at KDF, and the man was never anything short of gregarious and friendly and warm to you whenever you were around him.
So was Ron Huntsman there at KDF when you were there? Or?
No, that was after that point. It was actually when I first met him. He was coming into the station to promote Powder Keg.
Okay, great. Yeah, that was all good times. But he was a gentle soul. He loved what he did. He said he never had ever wanted to do anything else but play music, go down the road and play music. And so when he passed away, which July 6th will be 3 years,
wow.
So Thursday it'll be 3 years.
Is it still hard for you?
Yeah, it is. It is hard if I focus on that. July 6th will be a hard day for a lot of people.
If you talking about Charlie reminds me, I talk about my grandpa, right? And my grandpa was the finest human being that ever walked the earth for me.
Roger.
And I can talk about him till the cows come home. If I put my mind in the right fashion, I'll just break down and start crying.
Yeah.
That's just what I did.
I did that last week. I was at the house, and I just had surgery a couple of weeks ago, and I was sitting outside, and I was listening to my wife's. She had her music plugged into the system and stuff, and I was listening, and a song of Charlie's came on. And it took me, that's what got me to thinking about that 50-year celebration of me going down the road, just being, I truly was the free bird.
Come on, man.
It just didn't get any better. And then it continued.
Did you ever wonder, you were probably too young, but, looking back on it, you're like, how in the world did I fall? You're touring with the Marshall Tucker Band, the Allman Brothers, and Charlie Daniels.
I was with Bernie Carrick was in town yesterday, so me and Bernie had brunch together, and we were talking about New York City and about him working the streets before he became the commissioner. But I was telling him, I grew up, so I knew all the Yankees from the 50s and 60s. I was a Yankees fan as a kid. I grew up here on West End and Murphy Road, just a downtown kid, and I love the New York Yankees. I read every book I could on Joe DiMaggio and then all the newer Yankees, Mickey Mantle. And going to New York would have been like going to the moon from Nashville, where I lived. There was 10 of us in a 5-room house. No way that I would ever end up in New York. It seemed like a dream place. And, you fast forward 35 years later, and I'm at Mickey Mantle's birthday party. Charlie played Mickey Mantle's birthday party, and I'm at Whitey Ford. I'm at Sparky Lyle. I'm at all of these guys. And so it was a dream. It brought forth dreams that I would have never thought in a thousand. I couldn't have dreamed those things. And that was the gift he gave me. But Journey Home was the greatest gift he gave me, because now I have life after Charlie.
Well, and obviously he lives on. He lives on in so many different ways. The music lives on. His belief in this country and his patriotism lives on, but it manifests itself in the Journey Home Project. Let's talk about the Journey Home Project in just a moment. It is 2:20. David Corlew is with us discussing our American patriots and what makes our freedoms so precious and what makes it so important that we help those that defend those freedoms. But before we get into that, I'm telling you, the best line in Uneasy Rider is, I don't even have a garage. You can call home and ask my wife.
It's my favorite line.
Is that your favorite line? I don't even have a garage. You can call home and ask my wife. We'll be back in just a moment.
Oh, God, we did.
So I mentioned I'm losing weight and, getting some pounds off feels good. You got to navigate the 4th of July and all that. But it's been so much easier to lose weight because I have friends, Holly and David at Savory Spice. Now, you're thinking, well, how does that work, Murphy? You're talking about spices for food and you're trying to lose weight. And that's kind of no. It works in conjunction with one another, because what we can do, we can take some of those vegetables that I need to eat a little more of, or some foods that might be a little more bland in taste, like grilled chicken, for example. There's a lot of grilled chicken in my life right now because that's a good protein. Well, with that grilled chicken comes delicious spices from Savory Spice. I've never enjoyed the alderwood smoked sea salt more than I enjoy right now on all of the foods. And it does, in a way that doesn't lend calories. It spices up my food and it makes it all the better and easier to lose the weight. So whether you're on a weight loss journey or you just want to up that food game, I say all the time, if you want to up your food game, you need to up your spice game. And you do that through Savory Spice. 2 locations to serve you. One's at L&L Market on Charlotte Pike, right in Nashville. The other in Franklin, just off the square next to Gray's Pharmacy. Go and see Holly and David up that food game through Savory Spice. Hey, friends, I'd like to tell you about all of the good people over at Brentwood Hearing Center. As some of you know, Brentwood Hearing is committed to offering the most recent hearing device technology, and one of the more recent additions to their product line is the Phone-Ac. Paradise Live hearing aid that is the world's first completely waterproof hearing aid. That's the Phone-Ac. It is P-H-O-N-A-K. Phone-Ac. Paradise Life hearing aid, completely waterproof hearing aid. Whether you're splashing around in the pool this summer with your kids or your grandkids, or you're working in the yard and you got a lot of sweat going on in the warmer temperatures, the Paradise Life can make sure that you hear well, but you don't have to worry about your hearing aid getting wet, which is a major consideration. Give them a call today at 615-377-0420, 377-0420, to schedule an appointment to learn more about Paradise Life. One of their doctors of audiology would love to demonstrate the new product line and to discuss how Paradise Life can help you live a better life. Brentwood Hearing Center. They like to say better hearing for a better life. 377-0420.
Escalating violence in the Middle East, and the case of a missing 7-year-old turns tragic. Those stories coming up at 2:30. I'm Jay Harper on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Jay. And I looked over David. David Corlew's with us. He is with the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project, former manager of the Charlie Daniels Band. And I looked over, and a lot of people were noting, as you've already noted, I guess prior to our recognizing it, that it would have been it's the third anniversary coming up on July 6th of the passing of the great Charlie Daniels. One more, I can't help myself because it's our first real good opportunity on air to talk about these things. But did Charlie ever, how to put this? I don't want to assume that all artists get tired of playing their hits. Did he anticipate how big of it? Did you guys anticipate or know how big of a hit "Devil Went Down to Georgia" would be?
No, I was sharing this story the other day. We were doing the record "Million Mile Reflections," and it was the first record we had done since the plane crash.
Mm-hmm.
And needless to say, Charlie was sad about Ronnie Van Zant. Him and Ronnie were big buddies, as well as a lot of the other folks in the band, Artemis Pyle, all those. We toured so much together. We spent our summers and winters together. We were going back and forth with the Tucker and Skinner band, the Allman Brothers and such. But Paul Grupp was the engineer of the record. John Boylan, who produced the Boston records, he produced Little River Band. He was producing this record on Charlie. He had produced the Urban Cowboy record. And so we had already cut 10 songs, and we were leaving the studio, and Paul Grupp, the engineer, said, "Charlie, you don't have a fiddle song on this record." And it was kind of like, duh. And so we literally tore the equipment down. The crew, we broke the equipment down, took it over to SRR, and set up and rehearsed. And he had this idea from a Stephen Vincent Benet poem that he had read in high school or when he was young. And it was, I'm not familiar with the poem, but it was about a duel with the devil, with his soul.
The Devil and Daniel Webster? That's the one that comes to my mind, but I could be.
It's a Stephen Vincent
I'll have to look it up.
Yeah. So that's where it came from. And so, I mean, he not literally wrote it that quick, but we did it within a rehearsal session, a couple of rehearsal sessions, and then we went back in the studio and cut it. And then we played, a volunteer jam was coming up, we played it live, people went nuts, and then we started playing it live before it was ever released as a single.
Mountain Whippoorwill.
Mountain Whippoorwill.
Well, that was the name of the poem, The Mountain Whippoorwill.
I'm looking at The Devil and Daniel Webster by Stephen Vincent Benet.
He's right.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, there is one called The Devil and Daniel Webster by Stephen Vincent.
But anyway, that's where it came from, and it took off, and it's had so many lives. It was a hit, and then it was on the Urban Cowboy record, which made it a big country record, and then fast forward a few years, and Coyote Ugly comes out. It ends up on the soundtrack of that. It reinvents itself, years later, and then it ends up on Guitar Heroes, which reinvents itself again.
Couple of things about it. I mean, one, Charlie seemed like such an unassuming guy and such a humble guy. I mean, he wrote a song that goes, it like took the next step on the popular culture reference, right? I mean, it's up there with, Satisfaction. Yeah, I mean, it's in a place unto itself, even beyond country music. I mean, and I just think it's fascinating.
One of the rappers, and I can't recall his name right now, but one of the early pioneers in rap and hip hop music said that it was the origins of rap music. It was words. It was words to rhythm, and spoken word to rhythm.
That's true.
And
I never thought about that.
Early stages.
And I know that I'm not the only person that has thought this, because I've seen essays on the subject, David. But I thought that the devil won. I mean, I'm throwing it out there that I thought the devil's fiddle playing was a little bit better than Johnny's.
Do you remember the Grammys when he used "bitch" on the air? Did you see that?
Was that David just put his hand in his head.
I was there.
I watched it live.
Oddly enough, sadly enough, it had just been months before that he had just bought his place in Mount Juliet, and we were literally fencing it ourselves. We were digging post holes. We were fencing it. It's the middle of the winter. I was on the tractor. Charlie's got his pressure on the auger. Country boy knows what auger is. We're digging the fence.
Yeah, you're digging holes.
He catches his finger in the power takeoff, and I'm looking forward on the tractor. The tractor bogs down. I look around, and he's wrapped completely up in this post hole digger. So we had to start it. There was a lot of the crew guys with us. Had to start the tractor. It stalled the tractor. He was so big, it stalled this tractor. We started it back up, raised it out, and then we manually unwrapped him out of the auger. And when I put him in my truck, I took him to the Lebanon hospital. But he kept saying, "Where is my arm?" And the muscle structure in your arm causes your arm to move forward. When that's twisted and torn, it falls back. He kept saying, "I've lost my arm." I said, "No, I promise your arm is there." And we got him there. We airlifted. They took him to Vanderbilt. And so when we played the Grammys, he was in a cast. So we always said it was kind of a joke, but it was true. We got 2 fiddle players to replace Charlie so that we could do the Grammys, because he was up for a Grammy. And we had Johnny Gamble and Buddy Spiker, who were 2 really, really famous
It took 2 great fiddle players to match one Charlie Daniels.
So he did the vocals at the Grammys in this huge cast, shoulder down. But it crushed his arm 5 or 6 places.
But he was supposed to edit "Son of a Bitch" to "Son of a Gun," and he chose
later on we did that as radio continued to play it, and it became a bigger and bigger hit. And then Charlie's transformation into his faith
led him to go "Son of a Gun" more.
Well, we had kids in the audience. We had the young kids in the audience, and he was always so concerned about that.
David Corlew is our guest. We got to get over to Jay Harper, who's awaiting the newscast, and we'll circle back to the Charlie Daniels Journey Home project, the reason that we're here, and we'll discuss that next. It's 2:33 on Super Talk.
That's an awesome story. Oh, I saw.
It is now exactly 2:34, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. A full weather forecast here in just a few minutes. It's currently sunny and 90 degrees. The U.S. says it's monitoring the escalating violence in the Middle East following an Israeli military raid on a West Bank refugee camp. Here's ABC's Faith Abube.
Protesters in Gaza taking to the streets, some burning tires as hundreds of Israeli troops filled the Jenin refugee camp. A spokesperson for the Biden National Security Council tells ABC News they've seen the reports and are monitoring the situation closely. The spokesperson also reiterating the administration's support for, quote, Israel's security and right to defend its people against Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and other terrorist groups. Asked about the reports that the Israeli Defense Forces informed the U.S. about its plans to go into Jenin without offering any specifics, the NSC did not immediately respond.
The Metro Nashville Police Department reporting that a 7-year-old girl was found unresponsive in a pool near a family member's home on Village Green Drive in the Hermitage area on Sunday. Police said officers jumped into the water, pulled the little girl from the pool, and began resuscitation efforts. However, the girl sadly did not survive. According to police, The child walked away from her home about 5:40 in the morning on Sunday. Police said she went through a fence and then attempted to swim in the pool in the 8-foot deep end. Her family reported her missing around 6 a.m. on Sunday. That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
There are two components to fulfilling your right that the Second Amendment, well, God Almighty, but the Second Amendment codifies it, to keep and bear arms. Two components. And at the Glock store, you can fulfill both of yours. The first is buying a weapon to protect yourself, to protect your family, to protect those precious values and those precious valuables that merit protection, your property and your family. And you can do so at the Glock store. They've got 35,000 square feet. They specialize in Glock handguns, obviously, but they've got handguns and long guns. But second, and as important, if not more important, really, is training and understanding that you need to keep it up. I mean, using your gun is a perishable skill, and if you don't go regularly and train, then you're going to lose that skill, and that's where the Shoot 270 memberships come in. And I encourage you to go either to GlockStore.com or Shoot270.com to find out how both of these components add up to your right to self-defense, to protect yourself, to protect your family, because you are the first responder, believe it or not. I'm no disrespect to our police officers and other quote-unquote first responders, but truly, you are the first person on the scene to develop an action plan. So, Shoot270.com for membership options at the Glock store. Go over to GlockStore.com or go see them right off of Elm Hill Pike, minutes away from anywhere. It's the world-famous Glock store. Super Talk 99.7 WTN 240. A great conversation in the midst of one with David Corlew, who is with the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project. So we talked about your relationship, David, with Charlie, and talked a little about Charlie. Talk to me about, obviously, you all have had a great relationship with the United States military for a long time. What conversations went into, and I think you've told me the story before, but for those listening, what conversations went into the formulation of the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project?
Well, we had raised, obviously, we played every military base that we could find during the Cold War. And then when the trade towers came down, obviously, he wanted to go downrange. We went to Iraq, Afghanistan quite a few times. But when we came back, there was a great need early on. And so there were a lot of the Wounded Warriors, a lot of organizations. And so we raised money for a lot of organizations and foundations, and a few of them started hitting bumps in the road, maybe some misspending and things like that. And we just decided if we were going to raise money in Charlie's name, the best way to do it would be to do that, create our own foundation, do that, and that way we could be good stewards of the money. We would know where it was going. We could research it and follow the money.
I mean, it is all about that. And one of the reasons I love talking about the organization, not only is it local, not only is it associated with you and Charlie and people that I have such great respect and admiration for, is I know that y'all do that heavy lifting that sometimes is difficult for the average Joe to do. And I don't know if this organization or that organization is doing the best with the money that they can. I don't know what the overhead's like. And y'all kind of do all of that for us and make sure that we maximize. I mean, obviously, there's going to be light bills to pay. We don't, you got to pay salaries for folks, but we maximize every dollar and get it to the veterans.
Yeah, it's you know what, it's a give and take. We want to make sure the money goes the right place. We want to make sure that the most important thing is that they're getting the right treatment for what they need. There's so many, the needs are so diversified. There's so many, you were talking about fireworks earlier when I was driving in, and there are guys that fireworks really bother. Then there's guys that the fireworks, and I don't want to take anything away from the seriousness of combat, but some of the guys will say, hey, we're celebrating our independence that we fought for, and two, it reminds me of combat, and that was some of the best times of my life, which goes forward in saying that's the problem. A lot of these guys come back, and they've had a camaraderie, they've had a partnership, they've had a friendship, and
it's a different kind of structure too.
Yeah, one day they turn you out and you go, you're a regular guy now, and it's unacceptable. You don't have that support.
This might be wrong of me to say, David, but it reminds me in some way. I mean, life is so different. Somebody that's incarcerated, right, and then they get turned out. But I mean, obviously, it's a different dynamic, and you're volunteering for this man's army. But you spend that life in that structured and
you're told,
I can't imagine it.
You're told what to eat. You're told when to go to sleep. You're told when to fight, when to wake up, when to go to bed. And then you're turned out. And then you're coming home, if you have a home there, you're coming home to a family that has spent 2 years, 3 years, 5 years without you. And there's conflict. And you have learned to live in a chaotic life. And when you get home, life might not be chaotic. And so it's an uncomfortable place for these guys to live in.
Do you find that lack of chaos, does that sometimes lead to the addictions that we see in some?
Well, I think it's the addiction, but I also think it's the adrenaline. They're finding out now that the multi-deployment guys, what they call, there's a new, I don't know if it's even new anymore, it's called operator syndrome. It's for the guys that have the multiple deployments that did a big part of the fighting, and there was mission after mission, deployment after deployment. You got guys that have been deployed 8 or 10 years and mission after mission, and they've gotten so hooked on this adrenaline.
High levels of adrenaline.
When they get home, there is nothing to activate that adrenaline. So something has to give them that feel. It's a drug. Adrenaline is a dangerous drug.
I mean, and PTSD we recognize is so real, right. and it's so differently manifests itself from individual to individual.
Yeah, there's guys. One of my best friends, he's come home, and I know he's struggled. And again, not to belabor the fireworks thing, but I see a lot of these guys come back. They're more concerned about the car that's been sitting on the side of their street for 24 hours
Mm-hmm.
that has been unoccupied. That when they drive down the road, they see a pile of garbage or something on the side of the road that wasn't there. Those are the things that are distracting to them. I know the fireworks do bother a lot of people, but the general consensus of it is just that there's so many patterns that they had to live within and so many things that they dealt with that it's just a struggle. No matter whether you saw combat or not, we've realized that if you left home for 2 years, 4 years, 8 years, when you come back, your life has changed. Life is different. Life is different with your partner, your wife, boyfriend, husband, girlfriend. Your children have grown. You have not been there. So that conflict begets conflict. And then a guy gets to the point, or a girl, where they're painted themselves in a corner.
And how do you, at the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project, and I can think of no better time than right now as we think about and celebrate American independence, that you go to the website and that you please donate, give what you can. Every donation matters. Every donation is important and special. How do you go about, is it just a matter of sitting down, meeting these groups, meeting these organizations, understanding the different needs that are out there as to how you filter the money out to the ground level?
Yeah, it's research that we've done over a period of 10 or 12 years now. I actually found a spot of a fundraiser I did with General Tommy Franks. We did as a team over at Lipscomb 11 years ago. But it's trial and error, not trial and error with people's money, but friendships, talking to those that have been through the treatment, talking to those that have seen changes in their families, talking to those that have not seen a change in their families. So over a period of 10 years, we've identified what we think are the best at TBI, best at PTS. We know the people to go to for education. We know the people to go to for employment. There's some great organizations. Everything is not bad with every veteran that comes home. There's young, inspiring young men and women that are coming out that have incredible leadership skills. They have incredible minds. They know how to operate. They know how to dive in, and so they need jobs. They need somebody to help them with a resume. Military doesn't teach you how to write a resume. But now I've got a friend that's running a program now for the Green Berets, and that's what they do. They help them write resumes. They get them in a suit. They teach them to interview, and these guys are going out and getting six-figure jobs. Gals and guys getting great leadership. They have incredible leadership qualities and skills.
I'm curious your thoughts as we get to the last couple of minutes here. I'm curious your thoughts, and maybe you can help us reflect on what Charlie was thinking about America in 2020 or now in 2023. I go back and forth, David. I see a lot of the negative because it's what we consume on a daily basis doing what we do. But then I get on my motorcycle and drive through the small town countryside and, stop at the country store, and I see people, black, white, brown, all different backgrounds, just getting along and seeming. I do not believe that the spirit and the genuine beauty of America is reflected in our mainstream media nowadays. I think there's still hope.
It's not at all. It's not reflected at all. And there is that America that we love and care for, and that's what causes all of us to be in the position that we're in now. We're fighting for that America to remain, and at least to be able to retain some of the qualities that our fathers, our grandfathers, grandmothers, grandparents that they've lived. Charlie said the only two things that protect America from evil is God Almighty and the United States military. And as long as we have a young man or woman that stands up and raises that right hand and takes an oath that is basically writing a check that's payable up to their lives, and they volunteer to do that. Nobody's making them go do that. This is not Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
These are kids that want that America. They're kids that haven't been exposed to that America. They want to see it. So it's up to us to continue. Gary Sinise said the other day that we presented him with the award. The job is too great for the government. They're too far behind. The VAs are overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a government. It's our problem. It's America's problem. And that's why you need to go on and donate to Journey Home Project or Sentinels of Freedom or Operation Song or Warrior's Heart. Donate to somebody. And if you can't, just spread the word. Do something American in the next 48 hours.
Even if it's shooting off fireworks. As much as they annoy me.
I hate it. My dogs, I've got 9 dogs. I have a living room full of dogs from 6 o'clock at night till 3 in the morning, tearing my TV down, pulling wires out of the wall.
You want 3 more? I can send them over your way.
3 more won't change anything. Bring them on.
Well, God bless you and what you guys do, David. It's such a pleasure. It's been a fabulous, just a magical hour. I appreciate you spending some time with us.
I love it, and thank you. You guys are great here. You guys are fighting the cause. You guys are right beside us.
Before I forget about it, I encourage people to save the date because you've got the fall event coming up,
September 13th. 13th September,
save
winery. Save the date. Come down, see some great heroes, get to see some great warriors, and just people.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that as we get a little bit closer. But September 13th, y'all mark your calendars and save the date. David, thank you.
Thank you.
Happy
God
Independence
bless.
Day.
You bet.
We'll be back in just a moment. Wrap things up. Pamela Furr coming in for the drive.
That was great.
The Nashville Painting Company. Jeremy Reeves came almost 10 years ago now. He painted my house before he left Birmingham, Alabama, though. He was down in Birmingham and had done such a great job, decided to bring his talents to Nashville and start Nashville Painting Company. They're locally owned and operated. They're licensed, bonded, and insured, of course. They encourage you to go ahead and make the call if you're thinking about exterior work. If you've noticed cracking or chipping or fading, maybe you've noticed even a little wood rot. They'll take care of that wood rot. They'll get that house painted. Brick lime washing, they take care of it. They've got the best warranties in the business, and they're simply the best in the business. They are proof positive. You don't have to pay the most to get the best. They're not the most expensive. They're just the best. NashvillePaintingCompany.com for more information. They'll even come out, give you exact estimates, and they'll tell you about color consult as well. NashvillePaintingCompany.com or 615-635-0350. 635-0350. Call today. Schedule an appointment to Nashville Painting Company.